just a little mini assignment. It's a simple assignment, a practical task for just to give you some little introduction to one of the important aspects when it comes to innovation as a manager of maybe any innovative project. One of the first things is setting the project timeline. And of course, there are softwares for doing that, but I prepared a simple task um, to help you and do it in create a Gantt, what we call a Gantt chart. Yeah, I'm sure some of you know this already. You can sketch it, but then just to use Excel or any spreadsheet software to create a Gantt chart. So that's the assignment. Um, and the PDF has the instructions that will help you to go along with doing this task. So you just follow the PDF and do that, and I'm sure you might pick some personal skills from that. Some of you know this already, and if you don't know this already, it's a good chance to learn. I see Simeon is typing something. Oh, okay. Yes. So you can attach the Excel file, or you can, if you have a spreadsheet link, you can also attach the link to the spreadsheet. So, like a Google spreadsheet or Yandex spreadsheet. Any, so if it's online, you can just share the link. If it's um, Excel file, you can upload the Excel file. Yeah, that's not a problem. Okay, so we're going to jump into today's lesson. I think I have to evaluate a few people's, um, a few more people. I think some teams did not present last week, so I have to evaluate your task. Yeah. All right. For today's lesson, we are looking at another important innovation, and the whole idea of this course, as you've been informed already, is to give you an introduction to various innovations when it comes to IT, so that you will be able to um, say generate some interest, also maybe get some personal speciality, for example, for yourself, and understand generally what is happening in different spheres of IT innovations. Yeah. There are different sub areas, of course. We cannot take just half of the semester to look at all these topics and also practically maybe test and use some of these. So we cannot learn all these little things like blockchain, for example. It needs a whole lesson to be able to study blockchain and then practically build a blockchain or um, test it out and all of that, for example, or and any other topic, AI and all of that. But we're going to try our best. Yeah, we're going to try our best to work with the short period we have. And so the goal of this course, as usual, is to introduce you to a lot of technologies and what is happening in the technology space. Now, maybe a little housekeeping. Before we jump to the topic, I want to make sure that there's something that it will be very maybe interesting for you. One moment, let me open my Chrome browser. Okay, good. Yeah. So, generally, if you're in the IT world, one of the best places to get technology news in the international setting and also any technology related news is The Verge. I'm just going to share some of these things with you. There are a lot of podcasts you can listen to because in industry there's a lot of practical stuff that is happening, and you can transfer this industry innovations into like your research or classroom projects and all of that. Yeah. So and also TechCrunch is another good place for you if you need to read more about technology. Yeah. In the technology space. I know in Russia there are some, I think VC.ru, VC.ru, like there are some other sites like that. Yeah, but all these sites are important to check out, especially information on startups and um, the the markets, the technology markets. If you're interested in technology markets or technology law, also all these other information are available. Yeah. So The Verge and then TechCrunch. These are just two resources that I can share with you if you are interested in technology news. Okay. I'm gonna close this. All right, good. So we're gonna look at a very important topic that is augmented reality or extend. Actually, the main topic is extended reality. Yeah. So AR, VR. Yeah. Which is under the area of immersive computing. In immersive computing, the goal is to immerse yourself, immerse people into, or to put people in a reality that is virtual, basically. Yeah. So the when we all talk about all these environments, we are saying that these are artificial environments created through the combination of real world and computer generated data. Yeah, and they have, for various purposes they are used, and we're going to look at some of these few use cases, research, a little technical stuff, and then some practical industry use case. And the second topic we're going to look at is affective computing. So the first topic is immersive computing, which has to do with these technologies. Yeah. So VR today, VR, AR, MR. So virtual reality, augmented reality, and then mixed reality. Yeah. When we talk about them today, we can look at um, mostly wearable devices are one of the first places that we go to. Yeah, the wearable devices, and I'm sure in the past 2 years we've seen a lot of progress in some of these devices. Some of you have Xbox, um, uh, s- Nintendo Goes, and all these kind of things. Yeah, Kinect, all these technologies. You might have had an experience with how these technologies work. Yeah, mostly in the gaming or entertainment sphere, but from a business and from a business perspective, also there are a lot of use cases. Now, some of these technologies that you might know of are the Oculus Meta. That is Meta's Oculus. We also have Microsoft HoloLens, two very interesting tool, which is quite expensive actually. Goes for around $3,000 just for that device. Still under development because a lot of people don't yet know the use cases outside of maybe watching a movie or playing a game. So it's an area which is still under development here. Of course, the technology is quite expensive to put together because you are putting a lot of technology in a wearable device. Yeah. So AI wearable devices are also quite popular, not just for like headsets, virtual reality headsets, and all of that, but also for other kinds of technologies. We're going to look at that, smart glasses, and all of that. Now, one of the maybe the cheapest ways of getting into the world of virtual reality is actually buying a Google Cardboard. Google Cardboard. You can. I think the other companies that maybe are doing this also, but Google Cardboard was one of the easiest ones. Maybe for less than $5, you could get one of these. I think I don't know how much it costs today on AliExpress, but you can find some on AliExpress and buy it and see how it works. It's like a minimal approach, yeah, to to the whole idea of virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, but mostly virtual reality. Yeah. So when we talk about VR, maybe I'll have to zoom in a little so that you can see the text because I think it's very small. Yeah. So first of all, when we talk about VR, we are talking about the use of modeling and simulation that enables a person to interact with an artificial 3D visual or sensory environment. Yeah, or other sensory environment because sometimes, and mostly it's visual, but sometimes there might be the part of sensing information. Yeah, um, when you go to some of these maybe special movie shows that you can see 4D, 5D, I don't know, yeah, 3D movie experiences where they also add other sensory stuff where you can feel, for example, I think you play games, you can feel the vibration in your hand when it's shock, or like in a controller or a gamepad, for example, these kind of things together. Of not just for the entertainment world, but also for other use cases. We're going to try to look at that. Now, when it comes to types of virtual reality systems, um, there are non-immersive. Uh, there's also immersive. When we say non-immersive, we are talking about like computer aided systems where you're not really into the system, yeah, but then you can see it from you are outside of the system, you can see it. There are also semi-immersive virtual experiences, and then we have fully immersive where you maybe you have a head mount on your like a virtual reality headset on your head and then you are experiencing it. Yeah, so that's what's quite popular also. But when we talk about 3D CAD system, like people who use Unity, other stuff, they are also it's also a form of virtual. virtual reality environments here, Autodesk, all these kind of things here. Now, augmented reality is the second one, and it's combining or augmenting video or photographic displays by overlaying the images with useful computer generated data. And the concept of augmented reality or AR, as we can see, yeah, there are some different types of AR. Okay, we're marker based AR, which uses markers of an object or image. There's also markerless, which uses GPS devices and all these kind of accelerometer, camera, compass, all these things. Then we have location based, which is then we have superimposition, augmented reality, which uses object recognition as well as all these other technologies combined. Yeah, and then we have projection based, where we use advanced projectors and lighting systems, and then outlining AR, which uses object recognition also. Yeah. Now, and a bit of the details or the parameters they use, we can see here. Um, so some of them use video, image, 3D models, animation clips, and scene. Some of them also create depth in the in the experience, and then some of them also have some lines and boundaries that the human eye cannot recognize. Only computers can recognize. And maybe from the images on the right, we can see a little bit of what I'm talking about here. So these kind of experiences we usually see with technologies today are all in the category of augmented reality. And then finally, we have what we call mixed reality, which is a combination of both of them, AR and VR. It's not really. People are trying to say, well, what really is MX? MR, mixed reality, because we are still trying to figure out what exactly it is here. But a mixed reality has to do with the combination of both um, augmented reality and virtual reality all in one setting. So, for example, concepts like this, and that is where the Microsoft HoloLens and all come into the picture, where they promise to provide some of these kind of solutions. Now, so we have things like 360 panorama cameras, you have visual cue controllers and handheld controllers, you have head mount displays, and then you have technology running in the background to create that experience. So, for example, the Apple devices that were created recently, the Apple headset and all those things, are in the category of some of these technologies here. Now, the only one of the main challenges in this area is the fact that you cannot put a lot of processing power in a small device like this, and how much battery life is it going to last? Like how much battery do you need? Like maybe accumulator, as you say, like maybe how long will it last? You have to charge it. You have to. So that's one of the main problems at the moment: the power for these kind of devices. Yeah, because you are putting it on your head. Also, people are talking about radiation, like radiation. Maybe is it radioactive? Is it going to affect the brain? Or because the signals going through the head and all of those things. So the body. So these are some conversations when it comes to these devices. Is there any long-term medical effect of these devices? So is there a question? Okay, yeah. So these are some of the conversations when it comes to these technologies. Just to give you a little preview, I think I have this HoloLens 2. Yeah, I think this would be a good way to show. Yeah. So a good example is Microsoft HoloLens 2, which is actually this article was from 2019. So today it might be a little bit different. But then the HoloLens 2 was created um, by Microsoft with the goal of like making a virtual device, which is not so cheap, but for specific users, for some kind of workers, like medical workers or scientists in a laboratory and all of that. Yeah. So they thought of some of these ideas to put together. Now, probably we're going to look through some of these also. Yeah. So a few typical use cases when it comes to virtual reality and mixed reality. First of all, there are some platforms that you can use. There are also technology. So there are different sides of this. You can be interested in working with platforms and APIs which work in that area. So I think a good one would be maybe to open Snap. I don't know. Those of you who have Snapchat, actually, there's a lot of augmented reality that goes into Snapchat. Yeah, Snap. Yeah. So let me just open just to show you. I could share the link also in the chat. You can take a look at it. Snapchat has quite a lot of augmented reality and research also in that area. Yeah, the filters you see and the experiences they try to create. Yeah, so they have what they call Lens Studio, and you can download it on your PC, and then you can become a developer in building some like augmented reality experiences and filters and all of that. Yeah. So all these filters you see on these kind of softwares here, if you are interested in this area, you can take a look at Snap, Snap, not Snapchat, but Snap itself is the main company. So Snap has an augmented reality environment. So there are people who create like lenses. They call them lens, and these lenses, there are a number of developers or designers who are interested in that. Yeah. So Lens Studio, and then there's also Lens Web Builder. Yeah, and then there's the analytics part of these kind of technologies. Yeah. So just to take a look at it and see if you have some interest in it. Um, the whole goal of some of these tools is to be able to help in different areas here, in entertainment, in shopping, in self-expression, in games, and all of that. Yeah, we're going to look at some of these examples in education as well. Yeah. So that's the Snapchat world. Also, another interesting one is Meta, Meta's smart glasses, which Ray-Ban collaborated with. I think if you go on Ozone, you can find it, but it's quite costs quite an amount of money. Yeah, yeah. Just to show you the smart glasses that Meta created. Also, that's Facebook. Former Facebook collaborated with Meta on these smart glasses, which is another kind of technology that exists. And take a look at it, you can see the price. I think on Ozone also you might find it for sale. And now when it comes to some of these technologies, there's the good side, but also the negative side is that it's more like intrusion of privacy and all of those things here. So with all these technologies coming, there's also going to be new laws and new legislations around such technologies. Yeah. Also, it's about how are you going to charge this device, for how long does it fit on your head and all of those things. So these are some of the questions that, yeah, because it's a device that it's a sunglasses, all right, but it also has a camera and all of that. So people are asking, how do you fit all this power into such a device, and yeah, or how does it all come together to work? Yeah. And there are a lot of Chinese companies which are also in this industry, aside from just the popular ones we know. A lot of good companies are also in this kind of industries. Yeah. And also Meta has the Meta Reality Lab, which is Orion. I think I could, let me just change my mouse just to give it a good look at it. 1 second, let me switch my mouse from the pointer. Yeah, okay. I change my mouse to the pointer. Right. I'm gonna open these two and open the reality. So, oh yeah, okay. So they have like, I mean, a lot of companies. There's a lot of things going behind the scenes that you might not really know about. You think they just create such maybe tech hardware, but also there are people in the backs who are interested in the software side of things. I think for this one, you need a VPN to look at what they do and stuff like that. And their products. So there's the Meta Orion Lab, which is more into reality, like virtual reality and all of that. And then we have another interesting use case which I came across by this company, and they actually have something for construction. Yeah, these smart glasses also for sports. It has audio technology inside of it. Now, where this is where I'm more interested in. I think it's here. They have something for sports. Yeah, if you check their SDK, that's their software development kit. They have a special software development kit they created for people who want to use these kind of tools. So some people manage to create something for construction, augmented reality glasses, um, where for construction workers they will, and maybe people in other spheres can use this for some sort of tasks like engineering tasks and construction tasks. So this is an interesting use case built into such a helmet, um, and used for construction purposes to aid in the process of construction. Yeah. So it's quite an interesting one. I could share that in the chat. Okay. So these are some of the use cases. Now, continue with the use cases. There's an interesting article came across. If you go on, for example, if you have university access, you can just go to science.com or Scopus. Like, not we don't have access to Scopus now. So if you go to science.com, for example, you find a lot of articles, publications on some interesting technologies. With university access, you can with full network, you can read and access it. And also, if you go to nature.com, very popular, like scientific place where a lot of good research comes from. With full access, you can access any article or journals and read more about some of these technologies. So you are going to see them have this, like for example, topics on anything you want to read on. Maybe when it's like a science magazine, basically. So with full access, you can access it and read more articles there. Now, in these kind of articles, you find people interested in these kind of topics. If there's one interesting article that they talk about, that is magnetosensitive electronic skin with directional perception for augmented reality. So, um, touchless manipulation of objects while you to be able to manipulate objects while moving your hand, looking at a virtual reality headset. And people are doing research in these things. Just by touching your skin, you are technically touching some, maybe your phone, or you're making a call or typing something. And all these sci-fi concepts are actually becoming a reality because people are doing research, because there's a lot of innovation in these areas. We now have the technology that can build this. Yeah. So there will be a lot of use cases in the future in these areas. So if you're interested in this area, it's also another interesting uh, place to look at. Yeah. A lot of use cases you come across also. The whole idea is to be able to give people an idea of how to visualize 3D environments in a 3D space. For, for example, instead of so you can have like a digital twin and then augmented reality all together combined, and that is also something innovative. I'm sure it will be possible in the future. So, for example, you have like a smart fabrica or like factory, and you can see what is happening, the state of certain objects in the system. And with the virtual reality headset, you can also see that. Now, there's an interesting company called Brilliant Labs, um, built by some like researchers. They came about with this. I think I'll just give you a video on it. It's just quite short here. So they make AI eyewear, and from the images you can see how it looks like. It's a virtually new, sorry, virtually new. It's a technically it's a new company that has started, and they are I think they are in their MVP stage, but they've now started producing. Yeah, and take a look at taking a look at Brilliant Labs, we can get a little idea of what they do actually. I'm gonna share their link in the site in the chat, and you can also maybe read about them or check them out if you want. Yeah, their site is quite it's nice. It's a nice website, and yeah, the specification of the product are listed. But one of the main things is how you can charge the device. You have to. It's a smart glasses that you can charge. You can power up with the USB cable and all that. Yeah. So it looks like something like this. When you're done, you take it out. This charging port. Yeah. So it's a glass with charging port. Now all these things we are talking about. The main issue is battery power, and then also like life. The large. At least you can. It can be a normal lens, but also when you need it for like some purposes, you have to have power in it. It maybe needs some Bluetooth connection, or Wi-Fi connection and all that. You have to configure it. So these are some of the challenges. Yeah, they are claiming they have all day battery. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. And if you want to buy now to see how much it costs, you can just take a look at it. Just the frame alone costs this amount of money. Yeah, and you can try them on virtually. And this is also another example of virtual reality experience, augmented reality experiences, where you can virtually try on something before you buy it. And we're going to look at some use cases. So, Brilliant Labs is one of the interesting parts. If you check their developer content, you might see a lot more about what they're all about, their source code, their SDK, Python SDK, Flutter, Web SDK, Unity SDK also available. Um, yeah, so some of these companies are doing a lot of interesting stuff that you might be interested in taking a look at. That's Brilliant Labs. Yeah. Now we come to another use case, which is beauty tech. Maybe it's not really spoken about a lot, but there's an area in technology which has to do with beauty. Maybe just inform me. Some of you might not know. Yeah, but there are a lot of companies or a number of companies in the area of or in the sphere of beauty and technology. Um, so, for example, we have virtual fitting and showrooms or virtual showrooms for shopping experiences, all that. Yeah, where these are virtual mirrors that you can just take a look at and maybe select to try on clothes without touching them. Of course, there are so many reasons for this. I'm sure some of you know this already. Maybe some of you have experienced this before. Yeah, but there are shops that are doing that um, just to prevent people from like wearing it germs, yeah, and all that. Wear it and try it off and all that, yeah. So these virtual try-ons exist. I think a good example I've just shared is Zero with AI. I'm gonna close this. Close this. Close this. Close this. Yeah. So it's Vero is a company. It's a company. I mean, it's good to just read some of these companies and see what they are doing because you can get business ideas from some of these companies or personal project ideas. Yeah. So they want to make for people who want to do virtual fitting for like eyewear, like that is people who like spectacles or glasses. Achki. Yeah. If you have a website that you sell Achki or any of these kind of technologies, sunglasses, no, it's not technology. Sorry, sunglasses, just simple normal sunglasses. Here, they're going to help you with all of these things, these kind of solutions here. So they have metrics that they can gather from the phone, whether it's an Android, it's an iPhone or desktop users. They can create a virtual experience for people who want to try device this maybe eyewear or the sunglasses and all those things. Yeah, and they interestingly they have some metrics they're able to do. So they give information. So they give you their API and you can use on their site, and information, for example, the eye width, the face width, the nose bridge width, all these kind of metrics, you can try out to see if they can measure all of these things for you. And in-store optometry, for example, you want to go and buy glasses in a store, you can also try it with some device in the store. Yeah, and they give all these things available. I think I have this stuff also. I've shown the slides in my slide. Let me just jump to my slide. Yeah. So yeah, like it's a really good use case. That is Vero, one interesting company where they have technologies. I mean, there are a lot of AI stuff that are AI models that can do this today. That can measure certain, do good measurement here. So you can just integrate these models and test it out and see. Yeah. So you can also do a virtual try on, for example, if you want to virtually try something. Yeah. And I think I have one open here that I wanted to show. Yeah. So there's a company. I mean, because I bought basketball a lot, so I know one of the basketball the companies that support sponsor one basketball team, Chicago Bulls, Zenny. So Zenny Optical, for example, they do sunglasses or other type of prescription glasses, and you're able to try them on. So, for example, if you want to try it on, you're gonna have to select the one you want. Look at the price of it if you're interested. I think, these are just blue light. So, so they are not like quite expensive, so you can try them. Maybe the shipping and delivery might be more expensive, so you can click the one you want, virtually try it on, and then the camera is going to pop up and you can test out the view to see how it looks like. An interesting one, just to give you an idea of some companies doing this. Test out the technology, men, women sunglasses to see, and it actually fits on your face. And if you like it, then you order. If you don't like it, you look for another one. Another interesting thing they have is a visual search in the e-commerce platform. So you can see, you just put a picture of yourself here, and it might try to search for the best glasses for you. Yeah, so you put a photo of yourself, and or you take a picture, and it's going to search for a good frame. Yeah, that you like, or maybe you are looking for a particular frame, and you something similar. They can try to find it for you. So that's one of the cool things about these products. So they are making the shopping experience more easier for people. Yeah, I see something I like, I just share it on their upload it on their platform, and it will find a similar option for me. Yeah, so that is Zenny Optical. All right. So in the virtual and augmented reality space, there are a lot of technologies. Now back to the beauty tech also. One of the companies that you can read more about is actually L'Oreal. L'Oreal, yeah, the French fashion company, especially with makeup try-ons and all of that. For example, they they have actually L'Oreal, the science and technology department, if I can say, yeah, where they focus a lot on beauty tech. And just to give you a little dive into L'Oreal's beauty tech, I don't know if I opened it already. Yeah. So they have something called Modiface. I think let me open this one also. Let's go directly to Modiface. Now, L'Oreal, for example, it's a good case study because you see some of these technologies. So people build a technology and then they sell it to a big company. So, for example, if you have a cool idea, you can sell it as an MVP, or you can propose it as an MVP and then sell it to maybe like Zalatoya Blaka, for example, maybe for testing makeup and all of these things. I'm sure maybe in maybe a year or two, they might build such solutions. I don't know. Yeah. So this is the idea behind some of these technologies. I don't think we can play this here, but if you look at L'Oreal's solutions, they give you, yeah, for
As
example, just on
L'Oreal becomes
CNBC, you
more
can be able to
digitally
see
focused,
what
that
happens
focus
here.
isn't
Just,
just on
I think I've
products.
said this
In early
link in the chat.
2018, L'Oreal
For
bought
those interested in
Toronto-based
beauty tech,
Modiface, a
it's
company
another area
specializing in
of focus.
artificial
Maybe
intelligence and
nobody has really
augmented
done much
reality.
research in
We
IT
had this
innovations. Not a
website
lot
where
of
you
people
change
do that.
rooms with
But
somebody.
there's a lot of research going in this area of beauty tech, and if you're interested in this area, I think we only had one student who worked on fashion, IT innovations dissertation, magister, like masters for fashion. Yeah, for virtual fitting room, she used an Xbox, no, a Kinect, and some other devices and tested it out. Yeah. But then also there are mobile solutions also. So for example, with Modiface, they are looking at things like virtual makeup try on, where you can they are going to sell you that solution. And there's also hair. Maybe you want to buy some hair product or paint your hair or give a certain haircut. There are good AI in the background that can give you that experience. And also skin analysis. Interesting area just with a camera. Um, it's they are saying they're able to do skin analysis. I don't know how much or how deep it's, and actually maybe recommend some products for you. So it's not just looking at using the camera for virtual experiences or augmented reality, but then also recommending using recommendation systems in the background, maybe recommending products based on some AI and nails also. Like yeah, all these things are available to select the best nail. Instead of testing it, yeah, you can look at it and see how it's going to look like on you. So it's an interesting area. Yeah. Um, Modiface. You can take a look at them. If you want to read more in L'Oreal, you can read a lot more because they have a lot of interesting things. I think you just go to the beauty science area. You're going to see a lot of things that they are doing at the moment when it comes to the tech side of beauty. Yeah, so beauty tech, and you can see all the things they are doing. Apart from the biology side, there's also um, the like software side of things and all of that. and there's a lot of interesting things happening there. Yeah, so you can just have a look at L'Oreal, for example. Those interested in beauty tech, and see what what people are proposing in these areas, latest innovations, for example, 3D devices, and um, yeah, all these interesting, cool stuff here. I think yeah, I'll talk about this. The neuroscience aspect is also in the next topic I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to leave this open. Yeah, so take a look at some of these technologies and see what happens here. Yeah. So for augmented reality and AI combination in beauty tech, it's quite popular. Yeah. Now, the next topic we're going to look at is a little close to that, even though there are two different areas of computing. So first of all, we looked at immersive computing. That is extended reality. That has to do with uh, one moment. Let me type it out. So immersive computing. We talked about AR, VR, and then which is XR, AR, VR, and then MR, mixed reality, combination of all of these. Yeah. Now we are looking at another interesting topic, which is called affective computing. It's a very not so popular not so it's not a popular research area in Russia. In my experience, I've not seen a lot of people doing research in affective computing, even though it exists here. It's quite a popular area of research, especially if you are into human computer interaction. That is, I think, human computer interaction. I'm typing it in the chat, or HCI. It's a popular research area. Yeah. User experience, all of these things. Yeah. They all go together. Customer experience, user experience. They're all under this area. Okay. So affective computing, what is it about? So in 1994, the term was the term affective computing or affektywny wyczислenia or emocjonalnie искусственный intellect or technologia emocji or yeah, all these kind of things. Like these are the main areas of affective computing in terms of translation into Russian. And this area of research was coined by Professor Rosalind Picand of MIT, and she is the one who invented the term affective computing, and she's currently the director of the MIT Media Lab. So if you check out the MIT Media Lab, you see what they do. All right, so affective computing is the study of systems and devices that can recognize, interpret, process, and simulate human affect. Now, affect is the key area. It's more has to do with how we feel things generally. It's people who are into more neuroscience can explain it better for you. Yeah, but things that we feel, emotions, also maybe certain like mood. Also, we also have things like maybe your like temperature, your how your eyes move, the pupil, like your eyes, and then maybe your yeah, different parts of your body, basically. Yeah. Now it's all under. It's also the computing that relates to or arises from or deliberately influences our emotions. Sometimes it's not just about the fact that we are looking at technology and how the technology and how we can read data from people, but also it looks at how we can use technology to influence people change, and not in a negative way, of course, but in a positive way to help influence certain maybe behaviors or in or emotions, mostly related to emotions. Yeah. So how technology is used in this area. Yeah. We're going to see a lot of use cases here, but just to give you a little introduction to MIT Media Lab, I may have to open this. Yeah. So MIT Media Lab, just to show you who they are, and yeah, it's a research. It's an interdisciplinary place. It's like IT innovations in business, technically, yeah, but it's a combination of information system, system analysis, all these areas. This all they do. There's a lot of research. If you check their research, you can see what they focus on, and maybe if you are interested in this area, yeah, you can take a look at them. I think my main thing I want to look at is this video on Vimeo. The good thing is that Vimeo is not blocked, so you can watch it. Yeah. So just it's a short video, which is an overview on This is a 3 minutes 51 seconds video. I don't know how the video is gonna look now, but I'm just gonna.
Hi, I'm Rosalind Picard. I'm a professor at MIT, and I work in the Media Lab where I direct our research in affective computing. Affective computing started here in the Media Lab. I originally defined it as computing that relates to, arises from, or deliberately influences emotion. In the beginning, it was seen as a kind of a crazy idea, but today it's in use by more than a quarter of the Fortune Global 500 companies. Affective computing today is inside robots, voice assistants, automobiles, smartphones, and all kinds of technology that we interact with daily. The focuses of our affective computing research range across a broad set of areas. The technology enables us to do things like see if a user of technology is interested, bored, confused, frustrated, and not just on their face, but we can, if they choose, and all of our work involves opting in and fully informed consent, we can also listen to tone of voice. We can look at sentiment analysis of what is typed online and help you see, for example, if your media diet is full of negativity or full of more positive, joyful, happy, and engaging stimuli. The technology lets us do things like improve the safety of a driver's experience, recognizing things like where their attention is going and when they might need additional support. Over the years, there have been a lot of surprises in our work as well. For example, with the collaboration across the Media Lab, we pioneered some of the first wearable technology. And my group's focus was on the physiology that relates to emotion, things like stress that influences how all of our organs function, and engagement that also influences our mental health and our social interaction. With understanding that physiology in wearables, we've had a lot of surprises, such as seeing physical health changes, like neurological changes that relate to a seizure, and behavioral changes that relate to mental health. As a child, I was not interested in emotion. Even as a young researcher, I thought it was something we should stay away from. But reflecting back, I realized that I was raised in a family with great emotional intelligence. My parents, who adopted my brother and me, for example, helped us have the courage to see when expectations were set very low and to defy those. In high school, as a young girl, I was told that if I ever wanted to work, I should learn to type. Take the typing class, because then if I wanted a job, I could become a secretary. Well, I did take the typing class. I became a very fast typer, and I later was able to use that to create computer programs, author the book Affective Computing, and today my group and I have published hundreds of peer-reviewed scientific publications. I learned then, and continue to learn now in the Media Lab, that you don't have to be restricted by the training that you have. I'm trained in electrical engineering and computer science, but today I partner with doctors, with lawyers, with philosophers, with people who have really hard problems to solve and don't know how to solve them. But those problems intersect with human emotion and technology. And when we bring together all of our kinds of expertise, we can defy the expectations of those around us and come up with creative new solutions that really help address these important human problems. Hi, I'm
All
Rosalind
right.
Picard.
Yeah, let me not repeat. Yeah, so this is the professor who coined the term affective computing, and I've shared a link to the video. You can check it out. Yeah, that Media Lab has a lot more videos in there. Vimeo. I don't know if they're actively posting videos there, but yeah, they have quite a lot of resources in the MIT Media Lab. I'm going to share. I think also there's another Russian professor, which I'm going to share his details, Professor Lev Manovich. Just a moment. Also in the area of, it's also like computing, but it's related. He's from, I think he studied in Chelyabinsk also, yeah. But yeah, in New York, one of the universities, he's more into virtual reality, a combination of virtual reality, visual media, generative AI, all these combinations. You can take a look. And art, it's more in the art world. Yeah, you can take a look at him also. I think he from Chelyabinsk, but then he's a professor in New York, one of the universities in New York. Yeah. So yeah, I just remembered another resource you can take a look at, for example, if you're interested. Yeah, in City University of New York, for example. Yeah, so the topics he teaches, just to give you an idea, that there's a combination of digital technology, artwork, emotions, um, all these things here for different reasons, for different purposes. For example, you enter a place, you see the design, it gives you some sort of emotions and all that. Yeah. It's all a combination of affective computing here because we are using technology to influence your emotions or your vibe as he will use just to be normal. So affective computing use cases, just to give you a few use cases, we have, for example, voice assistants. In voice assistants, we have affective computing. In the picture, we also have emotion sensing wearable devices. For example, I'm going to give you one good example actually. Let me open. So if you know, or ring, I'm just going to show you. It's a company in Finland that does this ring, a smart ring, yeah, for different purposes, for to help people. Yeah. For example, it measures just by wearing the ring, it's going to measure some metrics, and then there's an app which collects data. Well, I don't like cookies, so I always try to deny all cookies. Yeah. So it collects all this data, for example, and the ring costs this amount. Of course, you have to charge the ring and stuff like that. Yeah. So the whole idea is to help people because some people might not like to wear a watch, a smartwatch. So why not wear a ring, for example, which looks like a maybe like a wedding ring, something like that, and it's able to have to track some metrics um, as you take a walk or as you do some activities, workout. It measures your body temperature and even can detect some maybe possible health issues, like if you have maybe some sickness, it can predict. Yeah, so these are some of the interesting things, like interesting technologies you come across when it comes to wearable devices. Apart from the Apple watches and stuff like that, there are also some interesting and other interesting technologies that existing. I think every technology today has also a developer side. So if you look at a developer API, you're going to see what's available. If you can build solutions for such companies if you want to maybe make some money in this area. Yeah, you can take a look at the dashboards and see the kind of metrics that are available. Yeah, and integrate it with Apple Health and stuff like that. So these are some of the interesting areas. Yeah, of course, if you take a look at this, you notice that there's some compliance with some regulations because it's a healthcare solution. So they have to make sure that they are compliant with some healthcare regulations and all that. Yeah. So back to the slide. I give one example of a wearable, which is not your classical wearable device. Also, we have mental health applications. These are quite popular today, like Lantern, that help people to sleep well and stuff like that. There's some coaches, PTSD coach, and all of these things. All these technologies are innovative solutions which are popular in some popular solutions. They are not your traditional technologies that you build for a project here. Usually people build different types of projects, but also people in the mental health space, IT and mental health are also building some technologies for people in this area. Yeah. And we also have what we call adaptive learning systems. Now, a good example would be Duolingo. If you guys know Duolingo, the language learning app, it's quite an interesting one because Duolingo actually has emotional AI, which is able to analyze real time data from users, and it adapts your lessons, adaptation of your lessons, and it also configures your like lesson or zanyat or rock, yeah, to your user ability, like to the user's ability. So if it looks at your ability, it tries to customize it using AI. It has some emotional AI in the background. And actually, people are talking about how if you ever use Duolingo, you know that sometimes if you don't use Duolingo for a long time, it can actually emotionally manipulate you. Like it's been a long time you've come to use the app. Why are you not coming? Come back and use the app. I'm waiting for you. That stuff, yeah. it makes you feel bad. You're like, oh yeah, I've not done a language lesson in a while. Let me open the app and then study. So that's a good example of Duolingo. Yeah. But it's generally it's in the area of adaptive learning systems like e-learning, um, where you have emotional, also other things apart from just emotions. They have other things that you can use. AI can measure other things. And finally, we have automotive safety, and that is when it comes to cars. For example, yeah, in building cars, we have some devices that can monitor some important stuff here around us here, gather some metrics. So it's all a combination of Internet of Things, IoT, that's Internet Vieshi, as you see, Internet of Things plus AI plus electronics plus software plus dashboards, all these combinations together. Yeah, so there's quite a lot of interesting things in these areas here, and uh, I think yeah, a good one would be Microsoft's Fair Plus. I think I could open this just to show you. So Microsoft built an emotion recognition system. Yeah. So a good example is Microsoft. They have a data set of different emotional attitudes. Yeah, I think I worked on a project with some students a few years ago where we did something on affective computing project here with some of my students. Before that's about 3 years or 4 years ago, I think so. Yeah. And they have a data set who they use for some of these tasks there. So if you are looking for data on emotions, you can find it here. Maybe you want to do a project, special project, you can look at Microsoft's data set on emotions. Yeah. Okay. Continue here. Now, emotions give rise to changes that can be sensed. So this we are now coming to the details of a bit of technical stuff in the topic. So, for example, when it comes to sensing emotions, you need a device or you need a way to capture data. How do you capture this data? So, we can sense the data using distance. If the data has to do with distance, we can use sensing like face, voice, posture. That is pose estimate. For example, we have things we call pose estimation. We can estimate your pose, your posture, body posture. For example, if you know gymming applications for gym, or that is workout applications here in the gym, we have s- apps that you can just turn your camera on, even for sports, football, basketball. We have applications like that that can sense your motion and help you to change maybe how you walk or how you play the sport or how you do your workout. Maybe you are doing your workout wrong, so it's going to help you to change your um, to change your maybe for example you are doing like push-ups or you are doing how do you call it, biceps curl biceps and all those kind of things here. So it helps you to make sure you are doing it the right way, so you can have a coach that will capture these things. We also have if it's going to sense the data from a close distance that is very close, then you have things like temperature, you have things like respiration, that is your breathing. That's how come it can sense things like your oxygen levels and all those things. And we also look like pupil dilation. Now that's the eyes, just a bit more just to help maybe people who don't really understand the term. It's pupil dilation, um, the eyes. So technically just by looking at the eyes we can see a lot of things here. Your pupils in the eye, the dilation, if it becomes wide or small and all those things here. There are different things. So there are data that has been trained on different scenarios to be able to be used for certain tasks. So if you're an expert in a certain area of health, you understand the eye, the human eye, you can build some of these solutions for different contexts. Yeah, so in pupil dilation. And then we have skin conductance, that is measuring like data from the skin, maybe sweat, and um, just by the rhythm, maybe what they like the rhythm inside your skin, or for example, the, the not just the temperature, but like your blood, the way your blood is moving, and then the maybe if your skin is conducting some level of electricity or some signals from the skin generally. Yeah. Then we have electrodermal activity. That has to do with the skin, also electricity and dermal. So electrodermal activity. Then we have ECG and then EEG or EKG and all these kind of things here. Then we have blood pressure, so we can sense up close with some devices. Then we have internal sensing, that is hormones and neurotransmitters. Now these ones are a bit more complicated. Yeah, you need more. You cannot just use a simple solution. You need something more that can detect things related to hormonal imbalance, and all of those kind of things. So extra technology. Yeah, they do exist, but then these are some of the ways of sensing. Yeah. Now, this is an interesting research which created a more or less like a taxonomy, or a taxonomy of how you can collect affective computing data. So facial data, we have facial expression capturing. You have hand data, you can capture the hand gesture, or gesture, depending American English or British English. Gesture. Potato, same thing. Body, so the body movement and the body gesture tracking, the eye movement, the eye feature, the eyebrow features, everything. That's biometric sometimes, yes. Physiological signals, we all know these signals that you can get, which I just mentioned also already: EKG, EMG, EDA, and stuff like that. Now, voice also, we can detect in the voice. Actually, voice and verbalization. Now, this is a good example of a research I can show you, done by Google. So Google, and then there's a voice, Google Voice. They built, and I think it's called Euphoria. Let me try and find it. Yeah, Euphoria project. Let me. I have to try to find. Yeah, it's good. But I think Euphonia. Sorry, not Euphoria. I think it's called Euphonia. Project Euphonia. Yeah, it's a really good, really good case study. Um, yeah. So for people who are unable to communicate, they try to teach an AI model to be able to help people in communicating. I hope I find the video I'm looking for. There's a particular video here. So where you record, they make people record some phrases, and then I hope it doesn't. Okay, if it goes to YouTube, it means I have to open. Okay, no problem. I'll open my other browser with my VPN. Just a moment.
The Google Research Initiative focused on improving speech recognition. Our mission is to help people with atypical speech.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for. So this is Dmitry Kanevsky, yeah, Russian research scientist in Google. Maybe let me share the link in the chat so that you can watch it later also. Yeah, I'll just skip through a little bit because of time, but just to show you. So I think Dmitry Kanevsky and some other people in Google, he has a speech impediment. So together with the team, they built a solution.
General speech recognition, but if you do not sound as most of people, it will not understand you.
No one's ever collected large data sets of people whose speech is hard for others to understand.
People who have multiple sclerosis, for GF, who had stroke, who stutter.
They're not used in training the speech recognition model. The game is to record things and then have it recognize things that you say that aren't in the training set. Dimitri recorded 15,000 phrases. It wasn't obvious that this was going to work. He just sat there and he kept recording.
We need to make all voice interactive devices be able to understand any person who's.
Yeah, just a little overview. So they built a solution. It's the project Euphonia. You can read about it, watch it. Yeah, different use cases, and it's quite a cool project. Yeah, done by Google. I think today it's there are some more like publicly available, like uh, open source projects you can see on GitHub about stuff like this voice recognition. Yeah, especially for people who cannot speak well here. So you have to maybe use AI to teach them train a model. You let them read documents, maybe a lot of pages. different voices, maybe people with Alzheimer's, people with sclerosis, multiple sclerosis, all those kind of things. You collect this data so that it can help to when they speak, you can understand. Yeah. So Google did worked on a project like that, Project Euphonia. Yeah. To make speech more accessible. That's Tootnest. So by making speech recognition easy. So we have voice and verbalization. That's a good example right there. And then also looking at the mouth, you can detect data from your mouth, the movement of your mouth, how open or close your mouth is. So the gesture done by your mouth. And you can combine, you can take either one or two or combination of these data, modal, that's we call it multimodal, different modes of data, and use it as effective data for any kind of research. Yeah. So repeating the same thing, we have speech data, voice data. Yeah. And now here's the feedback part. In this one is just data. Okay. Now what do you do? We can also have a model after it has detected something, it can give feedback to the person to help you. So if it's like a child or children or a kid, maybe with some condition like autism, there's also research on that. Affective computing in autism, um, a good one. Yeah. So when it comes to research areas, there are so many use cases. This an example for University in Finland, Tampere. This is the areas of focus when it comes to them in affective computing. Um, there's also the ethical side of things, aside from just building solutions. Yeah, in sports, in human-like robots, in education, in healthcare, in maybe meetings and like events, we can detect certain things. In, for example, Detskisat, kindergarten, they have cameras, they can detect things in children to help maybe understand children. People do some research on these things. Yeah. So affective computing and childcare also is one of the areas. Um, Children have different maybe medical conditions. Using these kind of tools, it's affective computing, and we can be able to apply some solutions or see. For example, this has to do with the gesture, the pose estimation. We can estimate the pose of the child and understand this just by building a model which studies all of these things. Now, the next important area is in neuromarketing. If you've heard about neuromarketing, or if you've not heard about neuromarketing before, well, neuromarketing has to do with a study of how people's brains respond to advertisement or reclama, basically, and other brand related messages by scientifically monitoring brainwave activity, eye tracking, and skin response. So how you respond. Maybe for example, you have goosebumps or goose pimples. I don't know the Russian word for goosebumps, but then you have like on your skin when some emotions. Yeah, and neuromarketing is used a lot in advertisements or when a company wants to release a product, they have to study some of these things. Just a few facts about neuromarketing. One moment, let me zoom in here. So neuromarketing, as we know, it studies human cognition response to stimuli in an attempt to create effective commercial campaigns. So when you want to create a campaign, you usually use neuromarketing for that purpose. There are different types of neuromarketing campaigns. People who want to user experience or customer experience research do this. Some people think neuromarketing is unethical because neuromarketing is manipulation. Yeah, some people have an argument about neuromarketing, but the affective computing can also be applied in neuromarketing. Why? Because 95% of customers' decision making takes place in the subconscious mind. Yeah, according to research. Also, 70% of fast moving consumer goods, that is products, purchases are made at the shelf. So people, 70%, people must experience it by going to the supermarket or the shop. Maybe 30% is done online, and then 70% is done by walking in the shop and then picking it yourself. You want to touch the product, you want to smell the product, you want to feel the product. So this happens. Then we have 80% of new product launches fail to deliver predicted sales or performance within the first 3 months, and 200,000 times subconscious thought processing. So subconscious thought processing is is 200,000 times faster than conscious thought processing. So all these things are reasons why neuromarketing is necessary. Yeah, because it's all about things that happen in the mind of a buyer, or when you're buying a product, you want to feel it, you want to see how it looks like. There's a smell that attracts people. They call something like new car smell, like when a car smells fresh. People like that stuff. For example, uh, or you walk into a mall or like a shopping center, and there's a certain smell. Some shops have different smells. Parkman, as maybe if you like, they smell quite interestingly, nice smell. You always want to go to that store. Sorry, I'm sure you've experienced that before. So all these things come together in neuromarketing. Yeah, and neuromarketing is generally the combination of marketing and psychology together. Yeah. So how does the brain respond to marketing? Yeah, that's all it's about. And in the course of neuromarketing, you're able to study the human brain uh, using scientific approaches for the purpose of advertisement, and also you understand human emotion, sentiment analysis, um, human instinct. Or that's basically, it's all about the behavior of people, consumer behavior when it comes to products. And you also generate consumer insights, and what happens when they make decisions or when they purchase a product, maybe to buy or not to buy. That is what happens there. Now, effective computing neuromarketing. A good example is A/B testing websites, for example. This one simple example, not really a complex use case, but there are more interesting ones where you can use a heat map, or you can study the point based on where somebody's looking, their eye. You can use the eye. You can just let someone turn on their camera, or users turn on their camera, and then for maybe 1 minute or 60 seconds, you are watching to see what they are looking at. So you are going to track eye tracking technology. You want to track. So this, for example, Calvin Klein one, CK1 perfume, right here. It's a website for the product. So we want to know what are people looking at when they open a product. So the eye tracking, based on the person's camera, we can see, okay, they are looking maybe at the, first of all, where does it start from? Where does the eye start from? It's quite interesting, the technology, how it works. You're able to see the distance from the eye to the camera. It can measure the angle and tell us, okay, this is where the person started looking at, and moved here, and then moved there, moved there, moved there. And maybe so you can see how many times they move back. So probably the person just looked at a product one time, but then was looking at here more, which means that if you want to do an advertisement, or maybe market a product, like maybe market a discount or something like that, you should consider putting it at some part of the website based on um, the eye movement. Yeah. So good examples are these here. For example, if you want to like a movie or something, movie review, you want to see, or maybe advertise, like you have a commercial, like reclama video, you can also use it to study these kind of things. Yeah, so neuromarketing is also a part of effective computing. Yeah, a good use cases, or good cases that have happened, is use companies like Coca-Cola, Frito-Lay, that is Lay's chips, Nestle, and then Apple. They've all used neuromarketing. For example, Apple is a good example in the product unboxing is a good example. uh, Apple employed, or they use neuromarketing to enhance the sensory appeal of their products by creating like a seamless, attractive unboxing experience. So when you buy an Apple device, the whole unboxing experience is like a really cool thing for a lot of people. Interesting, just the box of an, and yeah, you see also Nestle, Nestle, in terms of food and stuff like that, they've also used it. And then the chips company, Frito Lay, that is Lay's chips. Yeah, they conducted a neuromarketing study to discover that the packaging of the bag, which is matte, that's the coloring, um, and the images of the healthy ingredients appeal to more female customers. So the women look more at the the bag color, like the design, and also they look at the health stuff, like the ingredients, if it's any maybe thing that's going to affect them. So when you see this, they know how to approach it. Coca-Cola is a good example of marketing. They neuromarketing. They used it to understand emotional response to their advertisement, and the whole goal is to invoke some or to evoke some nostalgia and some happiness. When you see a Coca-Cola ad, for example, the Coca-Cola drink is pouring in a glass, and then all this ice, all these kind of things. Yeah, it's quite intentional. Yeah, so in my final slide here, effective computing and user experience design is an important aspect. For example, the whole goal of marketing and product creation is also we want to personalize experiences. For example, in music streaming, um, content can be recommended to people based on how you feel about the song and all of that. Yeah, the emotional tone. For example, it can group. We can use AI to group music based on what you like. Yeah, and in music there are some parameters that you look at. I think we're going to take a look at one example right here. I'm going to open it. I think there's a Spotify data set, I think, on Kaggle, just to show you a good example of what data contains. Spotify tracks here, or maybe the most, actually let's look at this, most streamed songs for 2023. Yeah, a good example of how you can use AI analyzing data. So when you look at, if you go to Kaggle, for it, Kaggle is a place where you can find data sets and also machine learning AI competitions. Let me see if I'll find the data I need. Yeah. So this exactly what I'm talking about. And how do I hide this? Yeah. Okay, good. And how do I hide this part? Okay, I cannot hide this part, but take a look at it here. So in everything about the music has been tracked. We have metrics like the danceability. It's quite funny. Yeah, how like there's a measure between 0 to 1, how danceable the song is, how the energy of the song. These are metrics that have been gathered, so we can use it to cluster the. We can create clusters or segmentation of different groups of songs using AI. Quite simple. Yeah, to group songs, and we can use it to recommend music to people. So it's a combination of affective computing, AI recommendation systems. Um, I think there's um, a Spotify data set. There's like valence, danceability, stability, and co. Let me try and find this data set. Spotify API. Okay. Let me see if it's this one. There are some there's like a good place you can find the whole data set. The loudness of the music and stuff like that. I'm trying to see if I can get a good example. But there's a lot of things like a lot of metrics. So between 0 and 1, there are some scores that are used in the data set. So every song has some interesting metric. Yes, exactly what I needed. So the music, the key of the music. In music there are some music keys which are tononists, as you know, like do re mi fa sol la ti do, all those kind of things. Yeah. Some are happy, some are sad. Yeah, so you can use these kind of things to understand what type of music people like by clustering or segmenting the songs. Also, the time signature of the music. If it's 1/4, 2/4, if you know music, let me if the song is a minor or that's like DS or minor. Like if you know music a little, like a sharp or a minor. A sharp if that's a sharp or that's a flat. Yeah, so like so minor or maybe like yeah, me bemol, those kind of things. If you know music, yeah, I know a bit about music here in Russia, so yeah. And then acousticness of the music, the danceability of the music, the instrumentalness of the music. If it's like a rap song, uh, liveliness, the loudness of the music, like a metal rock song, all these things together. The speechiness, if there's a lot of words in it, for example, in rap music, you're going to have a lot of lyrics and then less audio, less singing, and less audio. So all these things together. And then there's maybe one extra metric, the popularity of the music. So putting all these things together, looking at the data set. Well, once you are listening to music on Spotify, they are getting this information about you and then creating some cluster, creating a user profile, like a profile about you. Yeah, customer profile. And then they can be able to recommend. Same with all these other apps, Yandex Music and Apple Music. They all have that. Now, enhanced user feedback also very important. For example, in gaming experiences, a popular platform for new AI systems can identify whether a player is struggling or not and provide an interactive or intricate tips based on their actions. Yeah, so it can measure your gameplay and then see what kind of person you are. Also, there's predictive analysis. Smart homes like devices like lighting, door cameras can detect occupants' mood by analyzing their posture with computer vision and adjust the room settings or the home settings to match their mood. Interesting. And then also the final part, which is very important, is accessibility or dostupness, which is the improved accessibility for different types of people with disabilities and stuff like that. Yeah. Um, you build technology for this purpose. Yeah. So this is an introduction to two topics. That is immersive computing and affective computing. And yeah, if there are any questions you can ask. I mean, there's a lot of research in this area. If you want to research in this area, you can just go to Google Scholar or Google Academia. Just go to scholar.google.com, do a simple search on maybe on these topics, and then see what articles are published. If you want to read about it, you can do so. For example, I think I've done a search on affective computing. For example, I think just a search, simple search. Now, if I want to search the exact keyword, I'll just add a quote here because I want exactly affective computing. And maybe I look for articles from 2020, for example, and then I can see these articles, or maybe from articles from 2023. So there's Google Scholar or Google Academia, and or maybe I can change it to 2021, for example, and I can see all the articles on this area. And what are people talking about? A lot of them are review papers on different things here. Quite interesting topics here. So these are areas of interest, and you can maybe see maybe affective computing and something else. You can merge the two of them and see maybe digital twins, for example. Let's see. Is there any research on the two? Yeah. So the combination of artificial affective computing and digital twins. Interesting. What are people talking about? Metaverse, all these things together. Yeah. So when it comes to scientific research, there's a lot of stuff, and when it comes to practical side of things, there are some few like tools and stuff you can come across. It's an interesting game actually. Um, an Android game, yeah, AR game like augmented reality game, and also there's the Oculus Toolkit. That if you're interested in that area, you can take a look at that. It's a GitHub repository for those who are interested in building stuff for Oculus. And then we have the A-Frame, and A-Frame is like it's a web-based framework for building 3D AR VR experiences here. So just to give you an idea of it, it's JavaScript mainly, yeah, and what is possible. So A-Frame, you can take a look at A-Frame, R-Frame or A-Frame, however you want to say it. Yeah. There's also VRTK, yeah, interesting one also, and there are some for people who work in Unity. So people who work in Unity, this is a virtual reality toolkit. Yeah, also interesting stuff for people who are interested in this area and to explore a lot more into that. Yeah, there are GitHub repositories also there, so check it out. Finally, I think one of the cool ones is Pokemon Go, which some of you have played before. I never played Pokemon Go before, but then interestingly, a company has now partnered with Pokemon Go to use the data sets of people's geospatial data for some purposes here. So, combination of geospatial data and then based on Pokemon Go players, yeah, for some AI stuff and all those things. Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah. So when it comes to practical projects, research, and all of that, yeah, there's a lot going on in all these areas, and yeah, you can take a look at that and see. Immersive computing is going to be a big thing. It will continue to be a big thing, even though there's it also depends on the price of the product. For example, at the moment it's expensive. Just look at the cost of a HoloLens or a Meta sunglasses. But I think on AliExpress you can find quite not so popular companies, and you can maybe buy these products. If you're interested, you can test the API, build some JavaScript solutions, or work with some SDKs, and then build some solutions just to experiment with this and see. Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting area to look at. If you also look at you're more interested in human computer interaction, and then um, customer experience, user experience research also, you can look into these areas. Beauty technology, very important area also. Yeah, a lot of companies have a lot of um, positions for such stuff here. So with your AI, machine learning knowledge, or project management knowledge, product management knowledge, you can also augmented reality, virtual reality knowledge. You can be able to use it or apply it in some of in these companies. Yeah. So this has been a topic on affective computing um, and sorry, affective computing and immersive computing. Yeah. So if there are no questions, I'll end it right here. And just to remind you that there's an assignment on Moodle. One moment, let me show you. I think those who join a little late, there's a practice task, and this practice task is using Excel to create a Gantt chart. I am because in the process of product or project management, you want to know how to be able to create such stuff here. So do we need just to repeat what you've written? Yes, exactly. It's a practical task. Just repeat the steps and then upload the Excel file to eLearn. Or you can also, if you do it online, you can share the link to your spreadsheet in the task here. It's a practical task, like a step by step you follow and then you do. Yeah, that's generally it. So I think that'll be all for today. I'll end it right here and have a good evening. I'll see you next week where we'll continue with other innovative stuff here. Hopefully, we'll try some practical stuff. But why do we use Excel? Okay, so your question, sorry. So, but why do we do this in Excel? Most companies use special whiteboard. Yes. Actually, so it's, for example, it's one like maybe a minimalistic approach to it, because, for example, MS Project might not be available for you to install or download, and you can use a third-party software. But Microsoft Excel is a popular solution, so it's just a way of like another solution. Yeah, in case you want to build a Gantt chart, it's just an alternative solution. Yeah, so somebody might need to learn it. Yeah, it's just an extra skill. Yeah, that's all. I hope it answers your question. Yeah. All right. All right. So that'll be all for today's class. Yeah. See you on next week. Have a good week. Have a good day. Yeah, and good evening.